Knife Seller Secret. Episode 1. Good morning, Captain Michael. That morning, Michael came to the office early because something needed to be resolved early. As soon as Michael entered the police station, he overheard a conversation of a colleague, Theodore, with a resident. "Officer, you have to believe me. My father was killed by their terrible magic. Why do I keep saying that, and you still don't believe me?" the man said with exasperation. Turns out the man was doubting the cause of his father's death. He assumed that the death was not an accidental accident. Theodore has been standing here talking to him since morning and is still trying to explain. "Unfortunately, your father died in an accident. There is no witchcraft or magic here. Now that it's the age of advanced science, why do you still believe in superstitions? It's not a good idea to have a noisy incident in the corridors of the police station just in the morning." So Michael stepped forward and said, "What's wrong so early in the morning, Theodore?" Theodore frowned slightly when talking about this issue. "Captain Michael, this person insists that your father was killed by some kind of witchcraft. We sent someone to check. It was an unfortunate accident." As soon as he knew that Michael was Theodore's superior, the man immediately pushed Theodore to the side to want to talk directly with his superior. "Hey, this policeman, I explained it like that, and you still don't understand. You're starting again. I won't talk to you anymore. I'll talk directly to your superiors." Then the man came to Michael and hurriedly said, "Captain, I want to talk to you about this matter. I hope you can solve it for me." Seeing such a situation, Michael said to Theodore, "Okay, I'll take care of everything here. You just go on with your work." After that, Michael gently invited the man into the office. "Don't be short-tempered. Let's go to my office to take a sip of water and then talk slowly." Michael invited the man to sit down, poured another glass of water, and asked what happened. The guy was probably thirsty, so he took a glass of water and drank it all in one gulp. Then, he wiped his mouth with his hand and told Michael what happened. "Captain, this is all that happened in our village. This man's name is Johnson. He lives in East Village. A few days ago, a strange man came to the village. He was walking with a basket on his back. Inside the basket were filled with knives of all sizes. This person walking and shouting strange things. The earth is round, the sky is wide, a good knife can be used for a long time. Who buys a knife? Anyone buys a good knife." This is the first time this knife seller appeared in the village. The villagers couldn't help but be curious. Hey, what are you doing? Where are you from?" "Hello everyone, I am just a credit knife seller," replied the knife seller. Hearing this strange name, the villagers became even more curious. Selling knives is selling knives, and even selling knives for credit? What kind of business is it? "I don't know. I heard it for the first time," the villagers whispered. The man selling knives immediately put down the basket on his back and explained about this type of knife sale. "My knives are good. You can use them first and pay later." When the people of the East Village heard it, they were very surprised. "What in the world is there such a good thing? Or are you tricking us? Your knife is a poor quality knife, so you don't have the confidence to take the money directly?" The knife seller wasn't angry or upset when he heard that. He took 2 knives from the basket. Holding 2 knives in hand and saying that villagers can test the knives first if they are worried about the quality. "Don't worry, you will know what a good knife is." Among the villagers standing there was a butcher named Samuel. He uses a knife all year round. Knowing of course what a good knife is, he loudly said, "Or are you not just a knife salesman but have some other intentions? If it's really like you say, really good knives, I'll buy 2 knives." Well, maybe this guy came later, so he didn't hear me clearly. "I'm just a credit knife seller." The credit knife seller again emphasized that his knives are good and are only for sale. He even advertises that these are the sharpest blades in the world that have been selected. These blades will not get dull or chipped after a long time of use. The butcher Samuel was also a man of controversy, wanting to embarrass the knife seller, so he told the knifeman to wait there so he could go home to get a knife test kit. Okay, if you are confident your knife is that good, then wait until I get home to get a knife to test it to see if it is as good as you say. The credit knife man calmly sat down in a corner to wait for the butcher Samuel. Not long after, Mr. Samuel returned with a large, hard ox bone in his hand. Look, Samuel is back. Look what he brought to test the knife. It turned out to be an ox bone. Samuel held out the ox bone and said to the knife seller, "See if your knife can cut this bone? If it's really that good, I'll buy 2 at once. That ox bone is really thick. Even with an axe, it would be difficult to cut it." The villagers standing around knew that this butcher Samuel was trying to make it difficult for the knife seller. They whispered, "Isn't it? How can a small knife cut such a big bone? Samuel is making it difficult for people again. No knife can cut it, unless his knife can cut iron like mud. That ox bone is really thick. Even with an axe, it would be difficult to cut it." The villagers standing around knew that this butcher Samuel was trying to make it difficult for the knife seller. They whispered, "Isn't it? How can a small knife cut such a big bone? Samuel is making it difficult for people again. No knife can cut it, unless his knife can cut iron like mud." But the knife seller showed no shame. He took the ox bone and put it on a big tree nearby. A crisp click was heard with a sharp knife slash, and the ox bone was broken in half. Then the knife seller held out his knife for the villagers to see. "Everyone take a look." As expected, the knife is still intact without any signs of damage or chipping. The butcher Samuel had nothing more to say, could only decide to buy 2 knives. "Wow, that's a good knife, I'll buy 2. But the knife seller once again confirmed that this is a form of credit knife sale. "I sell knives on credit. 3 years later, I will come back for knives and get principal and interest." Although this is strange and confusing, to have such a good knife, people no longer wonder. Each person comes to buy at least 1 knife for their family. "I took 1, I bought 1 too." The villagers all flocked to buy knives, and Johnson's father also came to buy a kitchen knife. But what happened was about 3 days after Johnson's father brought the knife home. Mr. Johnson's father has been a donkey driver for 30 years who have worn both the big and small roads in this land. One day, the donkey cart suddenly went straight downhill, and the old man died instantly. After listening to the story, Michael and his colleague Theodore did not realize there was anything suspicious in it. "It was just an accident," Michael said. "It seems that your father died in an unfortunate accident. Why do you suspect it has something to do with the man selling the knife?" When Mr. Johnson saw that Michael didn't believe what he was saying, he was about to take out something and said, "Here, just look at this." Mr. Johnson took out a kitchen knife. The wooden handle was removed, revealing the iron handle inside. Mr. Johnson pointed to the iron handle of the knife for Michael to see. "Here, policeman. Do you see there is a curse on the iron handle of this knife?" Michael then leaned closer and saw the knife's handle on the iron core. "There are characters, but he doesn't understand what it means. Mr. Johnson calls it a curse." Michael also did not object but asked, "Do you have any other evidence besides this?" Mr. Johnson confirmed yes. He said that almost everyone in the village, who bought knives, had an accident. Some people even drowned in the river while washing clothes. Someone else was burned to death in their house. This can't be a coincidence. All bad things only happen to families who buy that guy's knives. How can it be such a coincidence? This is definitely a ghost game of them, Mr. Johnson said angrily. Until now, the mysterious and strange knife seller has aroused the curiosity of police officer Michael, and he decided to investigate this case clearly. "You leave this knife. I will conduct an investigation. You just go back home and tell the villagers to wait for the police." Mr. Johnson quickly thanked Michael. After seeing off Mr. Johnson, Michael brought that kitchen knife to find James. James looked at the words on the iron handle for a while. Although he did not understand its meaning, he asserted, "This is really like a spell or a curse." "Boss James, have you ever heard of selling credit knives that harm people?" Michael asked James at this time. Indeed, James has heard of this kind of thing before. "I have heard of the credit knife seller. There is such a group of people." James poured water for Michael and said, "There are some rumors, heard that their way of doing business is unique, extremely strange. They sell, but they seem to not sell, also accompanied by some extremely accurate prophecies, later come back to collect money. And because the whereabouts of these knife sellers are so erratic and mysterious, no one knows their exact whereabouts. Some legends say they are a murderous organization left over from ancient times." After that, James gave Michael a cup of tea and said, "If you want to investigate more about this, you can go to the market to find out." Michael wanted to immediately start investigating the incident, so he left without drinking tea. "Thank you, boss, I won't drink. I will investigate now." When Michael walked out of the director's room, he heard Director James scolding behind him. "If you don't drink my premium tea, isn't it too much of a waste?" Since that day, whenever he has free time, Michael always goes to the market. But he's been wandering around for a few days and still hasn't seen a single knife seller. About 3 days later, one morning, Michael went to the South Market and saw a man setting up a stall by the roadside and full of knives to sell. Michael went to the counter and asked the man if he sold knives on credit. "I only sell knives, no credit," the salesman replied. "What kind of knife do you want to buy? I will sell it to you. My knives are all good knives," the salesman offered. Michael immediately left the stall. Credit knife sellers often wander around, which makes Michael feel like he is looking for a needle in a haystack. "Wow, this knife is a good knife." When Michael was passing through a small alley, he suddenly heard a woman buying a knife. "Okay, I choose this one. How much is this knife?" And of course, the person standing in front of the woman was a knife seller. He replied, "I won't take the money right away. I just sell credit knives." As soon as the woman buying knives heard about credit knife sales, she asked, "So how soon will you come to get the money? Can't I buy this knife with cash? When your son passes the university entrance exam in 3 years, I will come and collect the money. Your son will pass the exam for sure." The woman who heard this couldn't help but smile brightly. She was happy at the thought of her son going to college in 3 years. She happily said, "Okay, if it's true what you say, if my son gets into college, I'll pay him twice as much in 3 years." Michael crept up to the knife seller and gently stretched out his hand. Michael wanted to catch him gently without attracting attention. Unexpectedly, when Michael just touched his shoulder, the knife seller turned around and directed a blow to Michael. This punch is full of power, and the speed of the attack is very fast. Michael can only let go and block the blow. The two of them fight each other. The man selling knives also crouched down to dodge Michael's attacks skillfully. Then he threw another blow at Michael, but Michael parried it. Michael continued to attack, and the guy immediately pushed his fist away. The two faced each other. The guy selling knives suddenly stopped. He glanced at Michael and also knew that he was a policeman. "Are you a cop?" The guy selling the knife spoke up. Michael saw the opponent stop. He immediately confirmed his identity and said he wanted to take him to the police station to assist in the investigation. "Yes, I'm a policeman. I suspect you have killed people by evil witchcraft methods. Please follow me to the police station." But the knife guy didn't seem to cooperate. He bent down to pick up his knife basket and told Michael that he had found the wrong person. "First, the person you are looking for is not me. You have the wrong person. Second, we only sell good knives, not magic knives like you said." After that guy got up and left, Michael instinctively and his hunch can determine that the credit knife seller in front of him is not a bad guy appearing in the East Village. Michael also felt certain that the knife salesman could answer his questions and help him investigate the case. "Young man, if you are the wrong person, can you help me find the right person I am looking for?" Michael said. "Tell me, why should I help you?" the guy selling knives asked Michael. Michael replied firmly, "Because I know you are also looking for them."